Hello, crafters. Welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad to have you all here today. It is the 19th of May, 2022, and this is episode 101. Yes, we have made it into the triple digits. So welcome. I am so glad to have you all here. If you are new to my channel, please do leave a comment in the chat. Tell us where you're from. Maybe a little bit about your weather today. We're always talking about the weather. I don't know why. The weather here is pretty decent right now, so it's pretty good. I'm so glad to see a whole bunch of you popping into the chat. Of course, we're always chatting it up. I'm answering questions as we go along with the crafting. As we get started today, do click on the like button if you like today's content, and please, please, please share it out. Click on that little share button and share it to your friends over on Facebook and other social media. You can even email it out to friends, etc. Love to have more people joining us. So share it out to your friends. Don't let this be the best kept secret in crafting. Every Thursday we've been here for quite a few years now, actually. I'm doing all sorts of great crafting, and I'm glad to have you here. Hi, Linda and Cece and Kathleen and Paula. So nice to see you. Looks like we have the overseas contingent going already. Fantastic. I know it's late for you guys, and I'm always so appreciative when you join us here. So, especially when you join us live, it's amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Hey, so announcements for this week. They're the same as last week, so we're just going to kind of breeze through these. The Cardmaker Success Summit is going to be the end of July, and I'm going to be presenting, and in it we're going to be doing some gel plate work, so you're definitely going to want to check that out. If you want to get on the wait list, go to NicoleWattCreates.com/card summit, and that will take you over to Brandy's site and get you on the wait list. It is a 100% free event. And there is going to be tons of inspiration for your winter and holiday needs. It's going to get you like ready to go for the holidays. I'm actually all done with my Christmas cards because I did my my presentation for the summit, and I finished them all 80 of them. They're done. Finito. Okay. This month we're doing hot foil. Today we're going to do foil and flocking. So fun. Next month we're going to be doing gel press. So pull out your gel press, get some acrylic paints. We're going to have fun with that. Your brayer, some stencils, some other things. We're going to have a great time. I started working on those projects and they look amazing. Wax mediums in July. If you haven't seen wax mediums, they are becoming very popular. Lots of different companies have wax mediums. I'll be showing a few different brands and all sorts of different things that you can do with them with some different projects. So you're definitely going to want to check that out. If you're not on my mailing list, you're going to want to be, because there's something coming out tomorrow. This is also actually through the Cardmaker Success Summit. And I can't post it until tomorrow on Brandy's orders. So you're going to want to be on my mailing list. So go to NicoleWattCreates.com/technique freebie, pick up the freebie, get on my mailing list, and then you will find out all the great information tomorrow about something great coming out through Cardmaker Success Summit. Let's see what else. Crafty sales, always crafty sales going on. Scrapbookpal.com. I think they just finished their Copic sale, so hopefully you picked up some Copics and refills if you needed to. They do have another sale going on right now, I think. Scrapbook.com has been doing sale after sale after sale. So, you know, keep checking them out because they are always running sales this summer. Fantastic. So if you don't need to do any crafty shopping with me, and of course those are all affiliate links, so those will give me a little bit of a commission at no additional cost to you always. But if you don't need to do any shopping, of course you can always use the tip jar. The link is down below, and in the pinned conversation, I've got a little pinned comment up there that you can go to. That's just going to take you over to PayPal. You can send me a couple of bucks for a cup of coffee, and I totally appreciate it. Thank you, Erin, for sending me a tip last week. Mwah. Thank you so much. Oh, and of course, last thing, if you are inspired by anything that you see here on my channel, whether it's a technique or a live or maybe a speed art project that I've done, if I've inspired you in any way, I'd love to know about it. So tag me at Nicole Watt Creates on Instagram, and I will find you and leave a lovely comment. Thank you so much for being inspired. I always kind of spurs me on to do more for you here. So when I see that you guys are inspired by what I'm doing, it just keeps me going. So thank you so much. And of course, we've got new subs this week. I keep growing. I'm so excited about this. Welcome to my channel. I appreciate all of you that choose to subscribe to my channel. All right, so there go all those folks. Awesome. Okay. I just kind of flipped things around that I didn't mean to. There we go. Okay. This week's project, so cute. Look at flocking. Do you know what flocking is? It's just like a little velvety feeling. And this is like totally 70s. Love it. But it's a very easy thing to do if you are doing foiling, or if you have foiling supplies, especially if you have the laminator foil supplies, the toner foil supplies. Flocking is the way to go. Even if you don't have a laminator or a Glimmer hot press, Gemini foil hot press, whatever, you can still do flocking, because we're going to be using this, the Transfer Gel Duo, and all you need is an embossing or a die cut machine to use the Gel Duo. So you can use this with foil and with flock. I'm going to show you how to do that today, because we're not going to use the laminator for this. We're going to use the my Gemini for this. And I'd like to thank Spellbinders for sending me some of their brand new products. Have you seen these? People have been sharing them all week. They just came out from Spellbinders. This is their stitched alphas, and I got some alphas. So I have BD, HKR, and the ampersand. So I was thinking like HBD for happy birthday. That's why I got those three. And then I just like some of the other words that went along with them. These are the Glimmer hot foil plates, and there's one for every letter. So like I already have the B one pulled out, C, D, E, F, G. So there's one that starts with every letter, which is really cool. And then there's also a UR. So you start with UR, and then you can say anything in any of the letters. And then, of course, you can stitch them up. You can just add a little rhinestone or pearl in the center. There's lots of really cool things you can do with these. Today, we're going to do just some simple stitching, and we'll have a good time with that. Okay, so let's get started, shall we? All right, done through the hands. Oh, and we're going to do use another new product today, new to me product. So I should say these letters come in, I think you can get them in a whole set, or you can just get the letters individually. And the letters are not just the letter, but you also get the shadow piece, which is great. So we're going to need the shadow. We're going to do the R for today. And even though I did the B on the sample, you know, I like to mix it up a little bit. So we're going to do the R. So let's take a closer look at that. We're, of course, mixing techniques. As you know, I like to do that. So this is basically a mixed media card, because we have mixed techniques. Actually, like 4 techniques on here, because we've got the saturated background, we've got the fuzzy flocking, we've got foiling, we've got stitching. There's a lot going on here. All right, so we are going to start. Boy, I don't even know what to start with. So many things. Actually, let's start with this part of it. Okay, so the flocking we're using is the Deco foil flock transfer sheets. Now, the cool thing about these is that even if you don't want to do the actual flocking part of it, you can still use these sheets as is. You don't have to flock anything, and you can run them through your embossing folders. See, look at this cool effect you can get. So you can have embossed with fuzzy flock all over the place. You can die cut them. You can stamp on them. I haven't stamped on them yet, so I'm not sure what ink would be best, but all sorts of things that you can do. And then, of course, you can use stencils with the Transfer Gel Duo. So I'm going to show you how we're going to do that. And we're going to be using this Tuscan gold color. Very retro, right? I mean, so retro. And I thought the mod asterisks would go very well with that, right? Like peas and carrots with these guys. So, okay. We need to get the piece prepared first. So, into the screen comes my splat box, because this is going to be messy. All right, so we're starting with a saturated color background. And so this is a piece of Bristol smooth cardstock. All right, and I like this because it does absorb the ink quite nicely. It doesn't curl up too much. It doesn't bead up either like regular cardstock might. So it's kind of like using watercolor paper. So you could use watercolor paper, you could use mixed media paper, or you could use Bristol. The mixed media paper, you might want it to be a little thicker so that way it doesn't curl up on you, or just know that it might and deal with it. Okay, so we're going to start off with Tattered Rose and Wild Honey. These are lovely, lovely colors, and they're mostly shook up already because I prepped a piece ahead of time because this needs to take some time to dry. All right, so we're going to start with Tattered Rose. I'm going to spray it kind of on half of the sheet. All right, so this was giving me a little bit of a problem earlier, and I know it's going to be a pain in the butt. I can just feel it. So I need to get a new spray on the top of this, I think. I tried cleaning it. It did not help, but that's okay. We deal with it. All right, so there we go. We got some pink on there. I have some pink on my hands too. All right, and then I'm going to take the Wild Honey. I'm going to pop it in the spaces where I didn't actually spray the first time. And of course, this one is like, I'm going to spray everywhere. All right, I'm just going to kind of let that sit for a minute and absorb into the paper while I grab a towel here and wipe my hands off. All right, so I'm just going to let this sit for a second. And I'm just going to take some paper towel. And see, I've even used this paper towel already. I don't care. I'm going to just cover it and just pick up some of that paint to absorb it. You can smush two pieces together if you want, but what I like about this is I get that pattern on there from my paper toweling, which is very, very cool. All right, so this needs to dry. All right, in a perfect world, this needs to dry. In the world of live streaming, we need to force the issue. So let me grab, oh, I forgot to grab it. All right, I'm just gonna put a little bit of heat on this to dry it. All right, so that's mostly dry. It might be still a little damp. That's okay. Not super concerned about it. All right. So once you have your panel, and look at how beautiful that is. You see how it still kept some of those little diamonds in there. And then I've got this texture on here from the paper towel. I love it. It's so good. So, so good. Okay. We're going to add our gel to this. So I'm going to take my stencil and my knife. And we're done with these now. So this can get set aside. And our Deco Foil Transfer Gel Duo. Now, there are two different kinds of transfer gel from Deco Foil or from ThermoWeb. Okay, there's the Duo, and then there's just the transfer gel, and I have this as well, the transfer gel Blanco. So the Blanco is white. It's going to dry white. It's really good when you're using dark backgrounds and you want to make sure that your foil or your flocking stays true color. But you can only use this with a hot laminator. All right, this is not Duo. It does not work with two, it doesn't work in two ways. You can only use this with heat. All right, so just know that. That's why we're using the Duo today. So the Duo, when it's dry, it stays a little tacky. And that means that you can put flock or foil on it and then run it through your embossing machine. And it will, the pressure will allow the foil or flock to stick. All right. So you can either use it with your laminator or ink machine, or you can use it with your die cut embossing machine. All right. So that's how we're going to do it today. All right. Either way, this needs to dry. So let me just grab a sheet here so I don't have to clean this up later. All right, here is our mod Asterisk. I love this stencil. This is from scrapbook.com. It's a great, 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 great stencil. All right, and you know, if you want, you can put pixie spray on this, or your own non-aerosol spray that I talk about when you make it with your Tombow adhesive. And if you want it to really sit down on your cardstock, like sometimes it gets a little bit underneath, but we're just going to go for it today. I haven't had too much of a problem with this yet. The gel medium here is not super thick, so it's easy to get a nice thin layer, and you can see like I'm really scraping that off on here. All right, and we're just going to go on the whole thing. Now, a lot of people ask me, like, why are you doing a 5x7 piece? Aren't you doing just a 4 1/4 by 5.5 card front? Why, yes, I am. However, I like choices, and you know, sometimes the flocking may not stick particularly well in an area, or maybe you like the way that the colors swirl together in a certain place. If you give yourself a bigger palette to work with, you don't feel like you have to fit it in this little space, right? And then you can be choosy at the end about what part of it you actually use. And then, bonus, you've got a little leftover piece for another little project, right? All right, so I'm just going to scrape this all off. All right, so see, it's starting to pick up the color from underneath it, which is why you may want to use the Blanco in cases if you've got a laminator to use it with, because it does pick up that color, and it could actually seep through your flocking. If you're using a light color foil, you might see that darker color through it. There's a lot of reasons to maybe want to use the Blanco. Okay, so here's one thing you really need to remember. This transfer gel will dry on your stencil, and it's not really fun to get off. All right, so when you take your stencil off, clean it right away. Clean your knife right away too. So I'm just going to go throw this under some water so that way it doesn't dry out on me. All right, so just getting a little bit of water on top of that is enough to keep it from setting, and then it'll be fine. Okay, so now this needs to dry. Now, according to the instructions on the jar, it says, let gel dry for 1 hour. Oh no, we are not going to wait for an hour. So I already have a piece done. This one I'm going to go ahead and let dry, and I'll use it for another project. I don't mind because it's absolutely beautiful. So we're just going to let this dry. You can do this at the end of your crafty day and then come back 12 hours later and it'll still be fine. ThermoWeb recommends that you flock it or foil it within 12 hours for best results. Okay. If it's still tacky though, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 hours later, it probably will still work. All right. But we're going to set this aside. Move all this out of the way. There we go. All right. So let's take a look. The magic of television. Yay. If it stays tacky, could you put gilding flakes on it? I suppose you could. One thing though, you would just want to make sure that the gilding flakes didn't like absorb the tackiness. I've had that happen before where I've tried to put foil or gilding on top of something that's sticky, like an adhesive tape runner or something like that, and you could still feel the tackiness through it. So you might want to test it first and see if it works. All right. Or maybe it just takes 2 layers of gilding, you know, things like that. All right. So here it is. This one is done and it's tacky. Can you hear that? All right. And, but it's dry. And then of course the rest of the background is dry as well. All right. So here's the fun part. Flocking. So, like I said, you don't need to have any kind of laminator or heat tool or anything for this. The flocking works with the gel, and you can run it through your embossing die cutting machine. All right. So the flocking has a flocked side and a paper side. All right. With flocking, you want to put the flocking directly onto the gel. So it's going to go this way. I know when you do foil, you put foil this way, right? So that way the backing stays, because the front of it is actually what's covered in a protective coating, right? To keep that foil nice and shiny. So if you were going to do foil, you would go shiny, pretty side up, right? With flocking, we do flocking side or pretty side down. Right, it's going to pull the flocking right off of here. All right, so I'm just going to cover this up. Right, and one other thing that I have to do, so this is sticky. If I run it through my die cut machine, what's it going to do? It's going to stick to my plate. So I don't want it to stick to my plate. I'm going to take just an extra piece of flock and match it up here. All right. And I do like to just kind of press it in place a little bit, just to get it started. All right. Okay. So now it's going to go through my Gemini, because that's what I have. And my sandwich, I use the Gemini acrylic plate. I use a self healing mat, whether that's the scrapbook.com one or the iCrafter one. And I'm going to put my sandwich down here with my paper and my flocking, like so. And then I've got my top plate. You might need a shim. So you might need to add a piece of paper or a mylar shim like this one here. I'm going to try running it without it. I did one earlier as a sample for myself, and I used the shim and it felt kind of too compressed. So I'm going to see how it works out here. So we're going to run this through my machine. All right. So remember, no heat necessary. And I think we have a winner here. All right, so let's pull this. Oh yeah, I like that a lot. Let's pull this off. Check that out. You can reuse this. You can die cut it and use these little pieces if you want. So not really wasted. This is just going to pull off. So basically all it's done is taken some of the flocking off of the places where the adhesive was. And there we go. We're fully flocked. It doesn't feel sticky at all. It has covered every inch of the stickiness. So that's why I said, like with the gilding flakes, or if you're using something not designed to work with the transfer gel, you may want to test it out and make sure that it doesn't still feel sticky once you've applied whatever it is you wanted to apply, right? So there we go. Gorgeous, right? So fun. Oh my gosh. All right. Yay. Another step down. All right, so we're going to cut this down to 3 3/4 inches by 5. And see, now look at what I have. I have a whole bunch of different options. I'm probably not going to use this edge because, see, it's just a plain edge. Like, I definitely would want to trim this off. And I would want to trim off of this side. So, you know, if I want to have more pink, I can cut from here. If I want more yellow, I can cut from here. If I want more of a blend, I can cut from both. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and cut out a piece. And there is my finished cut to size piece. So this can go right on your card base. And I chose to do a top fold today. It's one of my favorites. Like, I don't do it often, and I should do it more because I really do enjoy a nice top fold. All right, so then this just gets put right on. And you're good to go. Yeah, so Cece, you can totally use loose flock with the Duo gel as well. For me, I like the flocking sheets because, well, they're a little less messy. All right, same thing with foil sheets versus gilding flakes. They're just a little less messy. All right, so there is our card base. Super cute. Let's talk about these stitched letters. All right, so we need to do some foiling. Let's do the foiling first. All right, here's another new to me tool. This is the Spellbinders foil and paper trimmer. All right, and so basically what it is this nice little raised piece that has 1/2 inch spaces with a little slit in here for your trimmer blades, and you can get they have refills of just the blades. All right, and then you've got a self-healing mat. So I had been using my self-healing mat and the little rotary trimmer, which works well as well, but I wasn't always getting the cut I was looking for, so I thought I would give this a try. Oh, and you can use this for trimming your sentiment strips when you're done too. So I thought, oh, that's kind of nice. All right, so I'm going to take my gold foil. That's so funny. Cece says that gilding flakes make the cats blingy. And that's so true. Oh my gosh. Cats and glitter. All right, so here's my piece of cardstock that I'm going to use. So I'm going to just cut down this one. So I take my blade marked foil. I believe they're like exactly the same. It's just that once you cut paper, you don't want to use the same blade because it's going to be dull. Check out how nice that was. Oof. Like I didn't even have to try. I cut my foil perfectly. And it didn't leave any residue behind. So nice. So that's a nice little tool to have. And then they come with these little thing keepers, right? All right, so my foil's going to go on like so. And I'm just going to take my... And I'm going to make like a little tab here. And I am going to come back and trim the other side. Oh, so watch this. So I don't even need to, because this is a self-healing mat as well. I can just, right here. And just trim off that little bit. All right, so this can be nice and folded down. So that way it's like nice and flat. All right. I didn't really do a great job with that. All right. There we go. Okay. So this piece is now ready. I have a whole bunch of sentiments that I want to do at the same time, which is why I've got this big piece. I mean, why get out your heat and everything and just to do one little sentiment, right? So I have a little trick for you. And I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so we can see what's going on here. So I'm going to use my grid here. I'm going to use some Post-it tape. You can use any low tack tape that you want. And I'm going to just line up these little sentiments. So you see how this one is in this little space right here. These are all 1/4 inch squares. I'm going to skip one. And I'm going to put my next one right underneath it. All right. I'm just going to keep working my way down. And hopefully I cut this long enough for all of these. Here's the UR. All right, and I've got... So I'm just trying to kind of keep these all in place here, so that I can actually, you know what I've done in the past is take another little piece just to tape it down. There we go. Then I can kind of hold the other side. And that. So I have now the R, the K, the D, the B, and the H. Those are all the letters that I have that go with this set. And then, of course, the UR. So I would have to do more URs, but at least this will work for all of those. So now, see how they're all nice on here and they're spaced out perfectly. I can take off my little holder here. I'm just going to flip it over and put it right on my foil. And actually, I might move it over so I can use the other side for something else. All right, so now this is ready to go on my Gemini, and it's actually ready to go. Ooh. Had the full plate sitting on there, and that's not what I needed. Okay, so this is just going to go right on my foil press. And then I put this on top of it, and I'm going to hit the button so it goes. All right, so we're just going to let that go, and it's going to beep at us when it's ready. I have a couple little extra pieces of foil now I can save and use for other little things later. All right, I'm going to pull this into the picture again so we can do a little bit of cutting. We're going to give it a try at least. Hopefully it works. I've never really had success cutting my sentiments this way. I usually use dies, so we're going to give it a try. So, and I can keep these just like this if I need to run them through again for another set. I can do that, right? All right, so those look like they turned out pretty good. You can tell that it worked pretty well because all of the letters are embossed in there. And they look like they had pretty good contact. So now I can reveal the results. Gorgeous. And then I can take this piece and run it through and get the reverse of it. So they would be white words with gold backing. That works out kind of nice too. 2 for 1, right? Always 2 for 1 is great. Okay, so I'm not going to use this. I'm just going to set this down so I can, I don't have to worry about it sliding. And I feel like they're not quite straight, so we're going to deal with that. There, that works. So you see how that just kind of separates those up perfectly so you can align them. So doing it this way by setting up your sentiments like so with a 1/4 inch in between sets them up so that way you can cut them here perfectly. So if I want, I'm going to just shimmy this a little bit closer to one side and the right one. So this is the paper one. And you just go through each line. So this would be great if all you want is 1/2 inch pieces. I'm already realizing something I could have done. I probably shouldn't have cut all the way to the end because when I lift this up, they might move. Yeah, they're going to move. So what I want to do is kind of shift this a little bit to make them smaller. And this might be kind of a risk. We're going to do it anyway. Yep, I knew it. Okay. So note to self, if you're going to do this, do not cut through all the way, so that way they're just kind of flapped on the end there, but we can save this. We can save it. Post-it tape to the rescue. All right, so what I should have done is this. Just gone part of the way. I didn't want the H anyway. I cut right through it. See, isn't this fun, guys? I'm like doing these things on the fly. But this is how we get better at things, and we just have to try them out and learn what works, what doesn't work. So as you can see, you already got some lessons there. But for what I needed, I got to. All right, so then I would just be able to cut those down and then have my. All right, so we use the R, which is for remarkable. So I'm just going to trim that out. And if you have a little bit of foil that's stray, you can just use a little eraser usually to get that off. And that'll take care of it. All right, so there's my remarkable. And then I need the UR. And then I can deal with the rest of those later. So just kind of move it out of the way. All right. So I definitely like this for cutting foil. I don't know if I like it for cutting sentiments. Okay, so here we are. Because sometimes I like my sentiments to be a little skinnier, and that doesn't necessarily help me with that. A lot of times I'll just freehand them. Or I use my my large paper cutter for that. Because I like this just a little on the thinner side. There we go. All right, so I have UR, remarkable. Let's talk about the R for a minute here. I need a little piece of flocking. So I'm going to take this leftover piece of flocking and I'm going to run, fortunately I have like a little space here for the R. I'm going to run this through my die cut machine. I'm going to use this as the backing. So, go. Just run it. Yeah, so hot foiling sentiments, I love them. I think they're gorgeous. But heat embossing also is just so nice too. All right, so here we go. So this is just the flock. This has not been attached onto anything. It's just the regular old flocking paper. All right, and I was able to cut a die cut letter out of that so that my R is going to go right over the top of that, like so, when we're done. All right, so cute. And so then it's going to coordinate with the flocking that we have on the rest of our project. All right, so when you die cut these little cutie patootie letters, this is what they look like. They usually, a lot of times they still have the little dots in them that you need to poke out, but they poke out super easy. On something like the R, you're going to want to be careful because look at this little bit here is really super thin. All right, so just be careful, be gentle with it. I did cut this out of 100-pound cardstock instead of 80-pound cardstock. It gives it a little bit more heft. All right, so I'm going to zoom in. Can I zoom in closer? Yeah, I'll zoom in closer. All right, time for some stitching. All right, so stitching is really popular right now. You don't have to do the stitching if you don't want to. You could just put a little rhinestone in the center and leave these open as just a design. Super cute. You could even add them on top of these if you wanted to and have a stitching and. You can go thicker with your stitching. You can do all sorts of different things. So for this one, I'm just doing one thread of this enchanted gold thread from Altenew. And I've already done these, as you can see. And on the back side, that's what it looks like. All right, so I try to keep my stitches nice and contained. I'm going to come right through the center. All right, and then on the back side, I want to not do that. Yep, I knew that was going to happen. Twice. I keep forgetting that this piece is now shorter because I've already done some stitching with it. had it cut pretty long before. Okay. Leave yourself a long enough tail that you don't pull it through. Okay. And then go through one on the front. And then you want to come back through the center hole. All right. Now what I'm going to do though is I'm going to kind of secure that piece, this little tail that's hanging. So watch what I do here. Before I pull this tight, I'm going to stick my tail through there. And then when I pull it tight, it will, it'll grab the tail. There we go. See how I pulled that tail down? And that'll keep that nice and secure. We're going to glue it down in the end, so that will work out well too. All right, so now it's secure and I'm not going to pull it through. And I can just go through and finish the rest of my stitching. And I'm just coming up through the center and out to the side, up through the center, out to the side. Yep, just like we do in cross stitch. Exactly. You could even, if you wanted to, you could then go around all the edges. There's a lot of different ways that you could approach stitching these for sure, if you want to do the stitching. But like I said, you don't have to do the stitching. They look just as nice without. They look great with a little pearl in the center, rhinestone in the center, sequins, enamel dot, any number of things that you can put in the center. You could even, once you have it put down on something, you could even put a little blob of stickles in the center, if that's your jam. Right, all sorts of things that we can do with these. Just because they say they're stitched doesn't mean you have to stitch them. I know some people really don't like any kind of stitching anything. And that's okay. So you see, it doesn't take long though. It took me about, I don't know, 10 minutes maybe to do this little trio over here. But I didn't want to bore you with all that stitching. All right, so I'm on my last one here. I'm going to go ahead and go through. All right, so I'm done. I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to do just what you would do with cross stitch as well. I'm going to go through a couple of these little back ones here and pull it carefully. And before, see, I like to stick my finger in there so I get the loop. And before I finish that loop, I'm going to put my needle through that loop twice and then pull carefully to get that knot to go all the way down. There we go. And then these just need to be trimmed off carefully. And there you go. So super delicate with just the single thread in there. You can double it up, triple it up, make them nice and bulky. You can do different colors, all sorts of different things with this, right? Okay. So now we just need to glue this onto our flocking, and keeping this close up just so you can see a little better. What I want to do is make sure that I don't get my glue close to the openings, because that's just like some place for that to seep out. So just little dabs all around. And then we fit this right on here. It has a little bit of dimension, right? Because it's got that thread through it. So just give it a nice little press so it sticks down onto that flocking. All right. Make any little adjustments you might need to make. And there. How cute is that? It's so adorable. I've been looking at this so long, I don't even know what that letter is anymore. Okay. Now we're just talking about assembly. So we're going to do the R. We're going to set this up the same way that I've got the other one set up. So I kind of want to do like the remarkable hanging off the R like so. Or you could do, you know, something like this. There's a lot of different ways you could put it. But I'm thinking I'm just going to do that. So I'm just going to put like a little teeny tiny drop glue right there to match up on my R. And get that kind of stuck in place. This is important to do this way because you don't want to put the R down and then realize that you don't have enough room for the remarkable, right? So if you put your R down here, that wouldn't work out so well. So now we know we have to move the R into our design a little bit more. All right, so that is where I want that to be. So now I'm going to flip this over. We're going to add some foamies to it. We've been doing this for 101 episodes now, and I am still working my way through these old hexagonal foam strips that I have had forever. Just when I think I'm done with them, I find more. And of course I use like every little bit. So I even use the edges and everything, right? Okay, I'm gonna want to put one. Here. Okay, so I've got my foam on the back. And I'm going to pull these off so we can add a little circle of gold thread around it. All right. Anne says, so SEW, so cute. So, and Nancy says she loves cross stitching for cards. It's a great way to use all of her accumulated floss and pearl cottons. Yes. Okay, so I have all of my little backings off here. I'm going to take this piece of thread that I had left over. I'm going to do about 3 fingers wide. So I like to just roll that around. Oh, you know what I want to do? I want to split this up. So I like this thread, but it's a little thick. So if you just tease it loose, you're going to get all the little pieces of it. And I'm just going to pull one strand out of it. Nancy wants to know if my hexagons are old Stampin' Up! Ones. And yes, they are. I haven't done Stampin' Up! And I can't tell you how many years. And yes, I still have a ton of those little pop-ups. All right, there we go. All right, so as you work it through, see, look at that. I got this one beautiful filament, one single ply. I'm going to wrap it around my fingers, about 3 wide, like I said. All right, and I like to just keep hold of the one side, and I can kind of tease them apart a little bit. And then I'm just going to attach that right there. The great thing about doing this is that if it doesn't work out, you could just pull it apart and try it again. Right? You've not committed to anything. There we go. But when I flip it over, look at how cute that is. Right? Okay, so this we're going to pop right onto our card. And we want to give just a little hair of breathing room over here so you can see some of that color around it. So there is that. And then we have the UR somewhere. There it is. And this needs a little bit of foam on it as well. And so I'll pop this guy right over here. And so this gives us some visual interest. We have like a little zigzag going on, and it kind of pulls it across. It gives us the gold, which is mirrored in our gold thread, and kind of the same tone as the flocking, and of course bringing all of that gorgeous, gorgeous color from our saturated panel up to the forefront to bring it all together for a beautifully flocked and foiled project. There you go, guys. So now you've got two ideas. They both, I mean, look, it doesn't matter what letter you use, the layout is the same. And you can create all sorts of adorable cards. These are really great for, both of these would be really great for graduation. You can change up the colors to match your graduate's school or their favorite colors, masculine, feminine. These stars, the mod asterisks, are great for guys and gals. So, and if you don't want it to be, if you want it to be less feminine looking with the stitching on there, of course, like I said, you can ignore the stitching and just put some enamel dots in there, and then it's perfect for neutral or for masculine, whatever you want it to be. So there you go, guys. I hope you had a wonderful time with me today. Time goes by so fast when we are together, but here we are finishing up our 101st episode. Hopefully we have 101 more and many, many more beyond that. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up on your way out, and I'd love it if you would subscribe to my channel. That way you will get notifications when I come live here every Thursday, and I will see you guys next week here running with scissors. Until next time, guys, happy crafting.